Okay, grade 5 in 5 minutes for AQA English Language, paper 1, question 4. This is the evaluate question. The purpose of this video to go through step by step how to tackle the question in order to try and achieve a grade 5 or higher on this question. If you haven't downloaded the resources yet, please make sure you do that. You can do it from mrcrawfordenglish.com/revision. It's on the screen somewhere. And download those, work on them alongside the video. It's the best way to use this video. Question 4 then is the evaluate question. It will ask you to focus on a particular section of the extract. What I would do is draw a box around that extract, that section, so that we don't wander off into other parts of the text. It will give us a statement and it will ask us to agree or disagree with it. We can do either, or we can offer a balanced argument. I always personally find it's generally more easy to agree with the statement and then perhaps offer a balanced one if we wanted to. It's 20 marks. We need to spend about 20 minutes on it. If we imagine a mark a minute, and we need to spend the first few minutes planning, trust me, that's really, really important. Hopefully this question will not be a surprise to you in the exam, because at the start of the exam you'll have had a sneak peek at all of the questions prior to reading the extract, which gives you a head start. It takes away the anxiety and the fear, and hopefully it means that you've already highlighted some quotes that would be useful to you arriving at this point in the exam. Steps then: identify the focus of the question is number 1, annotate the question, highlight the key parts of it. In this case, it's this part of the text shows the contrast between the way Harry and Dudley are treated. Dudley seems spoiled. We've got 2 things to look for: the contrast between the 2 boys and Dudley being spoiled. Secondly, we need to highlight the lines that we found in the section of the text that help us to agree or disagree, and importantly have labelled those with a method or a type of word. Then we need to determine which is the best quotation, which is the most judicious in helping us to answer the question. In other words, which has got the more techniques in it, or the more methods or things we can talk about. Then it's just a case of writing it up. So what I would do now is pause and follow those 4 planning steps first of all. If you're struggling, on the next slide of this PowerPoint, which you can download, I've put some quotes in red, which I think are good in helping us to agree with those 2 statements from the student who'd read this extract previously. All you need to do is label them. Alternatively, download the paper and do this for yourself. Find the quotes that you would use in order to help you agree or disagree. Assuming that we've done that, then hopefully you've managed to find some good quotations and you've selected your most judicious. I've done the same. The one I chose was this: well, get a move on. I want you to look after the bacon and don't you dare let it burn. I want everything perfect on Dudley's birthday. You'll notice that I've then annotated the quotation with some techniques that I might talk about that help me to agree that there's a contrast between the boys and that Dudley is spoiled. For example, we've got the imperative sentence get a move on, aimed at Harry. We've got the repetition of I want, the personal pronoun from Mrs. Dursley, aimed at Harry in terms of the tasks that she wants him to carry out. And we've also got some threatening language compared to some endearing language. The threatening language of don't you dare, and aimed at Harry, and the endearing language referring to Dudley as Duddy, an endearing term. So once we've got that, we need to turn those notes, those annotations, into a paragraph, and that's really straightforward to do. We're going to stick to what, how, why. What does the writer tell us to help us agree? How do they do it? That's the quotation part. And finally, why do they do it? What does the writer want us to think or feel? Why are they doing that? How successful are they? Remembering that we need to squeeze as much juice out of the quote as possible, rather than using 30 quotes and just talking about one technique, which it'd be very easy for me to do. I could just talk about one of those. We can use fewer quotes and talk about more words and techniques from within them. That will help us to hit the detailed word on the mark scheme, which helps us climb up to grade 5 and higher. So, what would that look like as a paragraph? The what, I fully agree with the student when they say that this part of the extract shows the contrast between Harry and Dudley and that Dudley is spoiled. It would be difficult to deny. I've stuck to the focus of the question and then backed it up with some embedded evidence. Firstly, Harry is subjected to threatening language from his aunt when she says, and don't you dare let it burn. As readers, we can almost hear the aggression and venom coming from her mouth. The way she treats Harry is in stark contrast to her precious son, who she endearingly refers to as Duddy, a playful play on his name. We get a sense of the love that she has for her son through the writer's clever creation of tone. She has no kind words for Harry, only instructions, which makes me feel anger towards her. I've got some subject terminology in there, and I've explained the effect, and then I go on to squeeze more juice from the quotation. Secondly, the imperative sentences are used to give Harry commands. She instructs Harry to get a move on. Harry is treated like a servant. He's required to cook a birthday breakfast whilst the family sit at the table, which was almost hidden beneath all of Dudley's birthday presents. Another embedded quote in there. The writer successfully develops a striking contrast, there's the focus of the question again, between the 2 boys, and effectively positions us to take a disliking towards the Dursleys. I've also squeezed the orange in that section, and I've avoided words like shows and used words like corroborates instead. Use that as a model. What I would do now is pause the video again and try and continue what I started. I started a new paragraph at the bottom there, another what. See if you can do the how and the why, or alternatively try and structure a full paragraph yourself, what, how and why, using the quotations that you've already found. You can also email me your responses, info@mrcrawford.co.uk. I'll happily have a look at them and give you a mark and some advice on what you can do next. Download the additional materials, download the papers, practice, practice, practice. The exam's coming up soon. Laters.